everybody. I'm intuitive medium Sandy Duncan with a bit of the giggles, and help me welcome my genius, lovely rescue medium friends, Jackie Dennison, Alison Wynne-Ryder, Edna Dargie, and Michael Lamport. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so looking forward to this today. How about you?
Always.
Always. Absolutely. Edna, this episode in particular just takes me right to you because of the subject matter. So as we know, it's episode 4, season 4, veryparanormal.com. You can find it there. This story, because it has so much to do with the land and the history, just makes me go in my heart right to research before we even see the story. When you, and Michael as well, when you met the homeowners, can you recall what that was like to feel a bit of the richness before the story was actually even told?
Well, I suppose it's even before meeting the homeowners, because we knew the address and where it was located. And I knew, of course, it was rich in history with the Battle of 1812. So that was one area that I thought, well, maybe it'll go down that road. I also uncovered stories of witches in the area. There were a number of interesting angles that, maybe that's where the story was going to go. And of course, we knew right away that our homeowner was Native. So again, there's that, how much of an influence will that be in the story?
Right. Yeah, incredible. Michael, do you recall if you got a sense of the ancestry that went with this place?
I didn't get really like a paranormal sense, but I did get the sense from the owner, as Edna says. He was an indigenous person in Canada, and I just knew the way he spoke that he would have a very interesting story to tell, no matter what path it went down. He was a very, very eloquent storyteller.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, and we could see that in the episode as well when he was describing. Alison and Jackie, in your premonitions, you were hitting on a cultural aspect before you even arrived.
Yeah. I think in the premonitions, I think both of us picked up on like a native connection, something to do with the land, and we both drew native pictures, I think, didn't we?
Native links. I've got something that happened on the land. It's quite dramatic. This gentleman.
It's the First Nations.
Yeah, First Nations.
In addition to their premonitions, the rescue mediums have created these psychic drawings of what they expect to find during their investigation.
He brought in a photograph of his, at the show and tell, he brought a photograph in of his grandparents, William, and I think I got the name William. And
then a name came to mind, William.
And you've got the name Adele, and that's his grandmother, Alison. And he showed us a photograph of his grandparents next to
Liam. That's your native grandfather, David. That's fabulous. I got the name Adele. I believe that's your grandmother, David. Yep. Is that her husband, William, that we've seen? Brilliant.
This is William.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my mother's mother and father there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that picture, I walked over to get this out of the drawer here, and I went, man, I know this face. And I come over and got that, and I went, there it is.
Wow.
This photograph of the homeowner's grandparents bears an uncanny resemblance to the psychic drawings prepared earlier by the rescue mediums.
We sensed two spirits, two male spirits. One was like really anxious and sort of trying to hide and not coming forward. And the other one, you could just feel the love and the peace coming forward.
Yeah.
And he said he was family. And he said to me, Grandad. So
Yeah.
we knew that he was the grandfather of one of the homeowners. Obviously, we weren't sure who at that time.
It's somebody linked to the family. It's something to do with this house, this family.
Grandad. Do you feel it might be him?
I feel that he's here.
Yes,
I feel
I
he's
do.
protecting, but no, I don't. Somebody else.
He might have come forward to help. Do you
Yes.
Alison has confirmed the presence of two distinct spirits. One who is agitated and troubled.
They're like tentative.
think? Okay.
Okay.
So it's a trust thing.
It's a trust thing.
The other, a gentle grandfather spirit who seeks to help and protect. There is an interesting thing about Red Hill that I don't believe we explored in the episode, and I don't know if Edna did any exploration of it or not, but I did at the time. And in Red Hill, which is, I guess it's a suburb of a city called Hamilton in Canada, and there is a brand new parkway, a brand new road. It's a dual carriageway. And it's brand new, and it's not very long. It's a few kilometers, like more than a few, but not long. And it cuts right through the Red Hill land, which, as we found out, and Jackie and Alison and Edna will tell you more about this, that it cut right through native land. And an ironic thing is that this Red Hill Parkway is very straight, and it has an inordinate amount of car accidents
Wow.
in the area of the native land. Yeah. And, I'm not suggesting that the native spirits are doing anything like that, but maybe we have upset something in that arena.
The energy, yeah. And you picked up on that, Jackie, that freeway or motorway, whatever you call it in Canada, sorry.
Yeah.
You picked up on that when we were actually on the land walking about.
They are pulled to the edge of the property.
I feel quite emotional here.
Right.
That shouldn't be there. That
Right.
shouldn't be like that. I have to say, that's an abomination.
Jackie senses that this highway divides sacred land and should never have been built.
Some more information about the parkway itself, and as Michael had said, I never would drive on it from that day forward once I understood what had happened there. I'll always, if I go to that area, take an alternate route, but I will not drive on that parkway by any means. And I had, when I visited with David, we went for a walk through the valley, and he shared so much of his heritage and what had happened in the valley, and the long houses that were built there, and the villages that were there. And he shared, he was just so passionate about it. For 20 years, he had been trying to preserve that valley, and his father before him for 40 years.
Family, the Red Hill Valley, the land that we sit on now. Everything around us.
The native links are to yourself personally and also to the land.
The Red Hill Valley has been the homeland of First Nations communities for over 12,000 years. But beginning in the 1950s, the natural state of this land has been endangered by the encroachment of urban development.
I have to say, that's an abomination.
David and his family have been leaders in the resistance to preserve this sacred land and its heritage. All of these factors are vital to the lady's investigation.
That's right. But didn't the grandfather spirit come through at the end, I think, in the reveal, and say how proud he was of David and his family, preserving the culture around there?
Yeah.
That was a big
He was extremely proud, and I think David was visibly moved by that.
Your grandfather, William, is extremely proud of you. he wants you to know that he's extreme, and he kept saying the cause. He's extremely proud of what you've achieved in the cause. Both you and I have to say your father, because he said your father has been involved in this cause too. The cause being what you so passionately believe in, and that is the preservation of your wonderful heritage and this area.
And there was a very eloquent article written by a 10-year-old boy in support of it. And he, again, as Michael, as you said, like, why doesn't the government check into it? And they did. But the majority of the Hamilton City councillors believed that it was okay to build the expressway. And the mayor at that time as well, because they wanted more business to come into the city. So again, it's the dollars over the deficit.
That overrules so many things throughout the world, you know. If this is going to make us more money to do this, it doesn't really matter what we disturb. It'll be okay, which is sort of, I think, is very sad.
But it was a very spiritual place, and they were still practicing a lot of ceremonies there in the valley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we were in, because we started our investigation on the land rather than in the house, I think, with this episode, and you could feel that energy in the land. It was a magical place, and it was a very, you could feel it was sacred. And I think we'd said that a few times, didn't we, Alison? This is a sacred place. It feels so sacred.
That is amazing, that tree, though.
One tree in particular seems to emit a spiritual energy.
This is sacred, Alison.
And sense that native connection. Yeah. And then when we went into the house, there was a photograph of Danielle, wasn't there, the little girl? She was hugging that
same tree.
Yeah.
The same one.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's the tree that we saw, wasn't it?
Do you know, I think it is.
It is.
And that's just what we did. We hugged the tree.
David's native name, and I won't attempt to pronounce it, but it means honoring the ancestors.
Oh, I love that.
I do.
Wow.
And that's what he
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Living his name.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Alison and Jackie, do you recall, because this rescue had sort of a wider message of culture, of peace, as opposed to a rescue specific in a home? Do you recall if that had a different feel to it at this rescue?
Every rescue has its own unique feel to it. I think it was quite horrific because we were dealing with a war situation. In fact, I think the words that I used were carnage.
Yeah, it was.
He's moved a body or something. He's moved something.
Here's a body. There's lots of bodies.
Like a graveyard?
No. Carnage. This is carnage.
Right, okay.
This is carnage.
Okay.
A real heartfelt rescue with the grandfather coming forward to help, who would have been an enemy when they were during that battle.
Suddenly, the grandfather spirit appears.
You know Grandad's here.
Yes, I felt a protective energy.
As the grandfather spirit offers help, the former enemies become friends. The rescue begins.
That's how it helped. Edna must have been jumping up and down, Edna. Oh my God, it's that battle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you realize, or do you remember, that there was a second rescue?
No.
love this.
You
I
always
love
do this
this.
on the set and we never remember to be no.
Well,
Alice.
of course, it wasn't as dramatic, and that's why in the 22 minutes of the show, the editors would not have included it or mentioned it. But it was a woman, Eliza Field, and there's a bit of a native connection because she was married to Sacred Feathers, a native.
Oh,
And
I love that. I don't remember this. Do you, Jackie?
no.
Sacred Feathers. I love
How
that.
lovely.
Wow.
Okay, after the soldier had gone through, you're looking at a other side of a window and you see two figures. This is Alison. And Jackie, you felt pressure from the granddad, but it was not him. He was helping again.
Oh, wow.
And let's see, she has a trust in animals. She's walking away with the dog in the meadow. She's saying thank you. She was very timid, very afraid. She had dark hair, barefoot in the meadow with a longish skirt. So she didn't come through really strongly. That's of course why she wasn't included in the show. But she was certainly connected to a degree to the land and to the native influence.
Wow.
It's interesting how, the grandfather stayed to help if there was anyone else that needed to come through.
Yeah.
And
I
links
bet
with the land too. Links with the land again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll
which
still be there.
he cared so much about, yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll still be there. I think the grandfather will probably always be one of probably many helpers to help with whatever is happening on that land.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I find, like, as the producer, when we come across situations like this with indigenous people, several of our shows have had that happen, and those stories to me are really fascinating because of the not just because of the spirit, but because of the history of the land and what has happened. I mean, we've come across other battlefields and other native things, and to me, it'd be like doing a spin-off show called Investigative Mediums, where we really investigate the land. Because I find it very interesting.
I was just thinking as you were saying that about other episodes with natives involved. I don't believe that we've ever rescued a native person. As Michael was saying, we have done a few shows that have had a native influence, but the native role is usually been to help in the rescue. I don't believe we've ever been in a situation where a native person has been rescued.
No.
Even this Eliza here, she was not native.
Yeah.
She was from England.
Yeah. And that's probably because they're so spiritually aware. They are so spiritually aware, the native cultures. And the interesting thing about the stories, we were talking about the storytelling, that the stories are handed down and still are handed down, and should be. It should be, their culture should be there for everyone. We should know about
We
this.
should.
Yeah.
But in their culture, as you say, Jackie, it is such that it's a culture that passes information by word of mouth.
Yes.
There are some written things, but a lot of the culture is word of mouth. And I guess that gives it more power and strength. And I think that's sadly why we as like non-native or Aboriginal people or anything around the world, because we're so used to reading it all in books.
Yeah.
And, somebody doesn't come and tell us, okay, now this is what happened to your father, blah, 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 ago, And I find that fascinating about the native cultures.
Me too.
Yeah. Jackie, is this And Alison, episodes that had a helper. The helper never seems to need help, as we just said, crossing over themselves. The other one that comes to mind, and correct me if I've got this right, Penetanguishene, I believe, had a helper spirit as well. There's been a few that have had a helper spirit.
Yeah, there's quite a few helper spirits that we've had. I think with this particular episode, it was a family connection, and that's what made it really special. That William was actually David's grandfather, and I think that's why the helper was so special in this case. All the helpers, all spiritual helpers, are always special, of course, but it made it even more personal, I think, for David. And when we did the show and tell, he was extremely touched by the fact that his grandfather was helping with this rescue.
But what of the helper spirit whose assistance enabled the rescue?
In fact, you have a great-grandfather. You know Grandad's here.
Yes, I felt a protective energy.
Who's extremely protective, not just of you, but of the whole family.
The rescue mediums feel that the grandfather came forth to bridge the cultural divide between one-time enemies and restore peace to the spirit world in the Red Hill Valley.
It was a very, very personal one. I think that's why this episode they're all special in their own way, but that's why this one was really special, because of that connection.
I also feel, without a doubt, but the little girl, was it Danielle, the daughter?
Danielle, yeah.
Oh my God, she had so much going on around her as well. She was the one that had the bad dreams and nightmares. And she also said at one point there was a man kneeling down on the floor by her bed in a bedroom. Can you imagine a child waking up and experiencing that?
Maybe there's a child that's been having nightmares, or somebody having a nightmare.
Our daughter's being bothered right now immensely by spirits.
I seen a person kneeling beside my bed.
Yeah, one of the things I do remember that was different as well from other rescues is that I think 3 times when we were communicating with spirit, we heard a door slam.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 or 3 times. And it sounded like somebody was walking around.
Yeah.
Hey, calm down, calm down. Oh. Hello?
There's nobody here.
All the doors were shut, weren't they?
Well, I thought so, yeah. So what was that?
The sound of the doors slamming, we question it, and because obviously we say, has anybody moved? Is that, has the crew closed the door? Has the wind blown a door shut? But all the doors were already closed.
Yeah, and you can hear it on camera. Each time we heard the door slam, they actually, they're just amazing, aren't they? They caught it on camera, on sound. So, yeah.
We had quite a unique arrival for that one as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We had the camper van.
What was it?
Mike Andrews'
that's right.
camper van.
Mike, yeah.
So Mike is one of our cameramen that have been with us right from day one, and that was his camper van, and so that was really nice to have him in the episode.
Having hitched a ride, the rescue mediums are on their way to help.
It's like a mystery tour, isn't it?
Yeah, I like mystery tours.
I do.
But does this mystery tour have an otherworldly destination? Jackie and Alison are renowned psychics who spend their days and nights showing wayward spirits into the light. The mediums have been given no prior knowledge of their destination.
So if we get stuck later on, can we sleep here?
Maybe a glass or two of
Maybe
something alcoholic.
We got something chilling just for you.
Oh!
Even the name of this area has been kept secret until now.
But the cheers, we didn't say a cheers. Because again, I'd forgotten this, and looking back on it, we're sitting actually in the camper van. He had a nice glass of wine for us ready, And all you hear me is saying, oh, I've drunk all my wine, or I've nearly drunk my wine. So there was nothing to have a cheers for because I drunk it. That's how it ended. We didn't say a joke, Michael. That's unforgivable, isn't it?
And then I was
hundreds now.
We spilled some of yours.
Yeah, I was laughing at you and ended up spilling it down.
They seek out the driver they met previously, hoping he makes good on his earlier promise.
Isn't it nice? Oh, this is exciting.
It is, isn't it?
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Oh, I say, how to live the good life.
No. I nearly drunk all my wine.
Cheers.
Cheers. We spilled some.
That was so funny, that was. It really was.
Okay, so are we going to have a
Yeah.
cheers now?
Yes.
Speaking of cheers, yeah.
Okay.
Cheers.
So cheers,
Cheers.
everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
Sandy.
Cheers,
Thank
Sandy.
you for watching.
Cheers, Sandy. Cheers.
If you enjoyed watching Behind the Scenes, please like, share and subscribe to veryparanormal.com, the portal for everything paranormal, where you can watch every episode of Behind the Scenes and every episode of Rescue Mediums, plus so much more. And it's absolutely free. You can't get much better than that. Cheers.